What happens when an entitled neighbor refuses to learn her lesson? One man takes revenge so perfectly that she's forced to flee the neighborhood. Forever. Some people simply don't know how to respect boundaries. You can ask nicely, you can warn them, you can even draw a map with red arrows flashing, "Don't do that." And they'll still do it. And that's exactly how my war against the loosest woman in the neighborhood began. The creature in question lived 2 houses down from me, and for some reason that not even the gods of logic could explain, she decided that my garage was hers. No, you didn't read that wrong. She parked in my space every single day. And before anyone asks, no, it wasn't a mistake. Because the first time, even I thought it might be a mistake. Maybe she'd confused the house. Maybe she was in a hurry. So I did what any civilized person would do. I went and told her. I knocked on her door, and when she opened it, she looked at me like I was a late delivery man. "Hi. So I think you parked in my garage by accident." She blinked a few times. Then, without the slightest trace of embarrassment, she said, "Oh yes, it's just that my space is very tight, and yours is right in the middle, much easier to get in and out of." As if that explained anything. I stood there, waiting for her to realize how insane that sounded, but her face was blank, like cement. So I took a deep breath and explained the obvious. "Okay, but this is my garage. I live here." Her response? A little smile and an "oh, right?" Then, she shut the door. In my face. From that day on, it was a daily nightmare. When I got home, her car was there. Every single time. I had to knock on her door, wait for her to come out, and watch as she moved her car with an attitude, like she was doing me a favor.
No επάλεγεις. Nos cham.
Just that ugh. This guy again, look on her face. I complained. I went to the neighborhood association. I even tried civilized dialogue. And do you know what her brilliant solution was? "Why don't you park on the street?" On the street. I have a garage. I pay for it. And she thinks I should park on the street so she can use my space. I wanted to believe she was joking, but she wasn't. And that's when I realized this war needed a better plan. Step 1. Make her life difficult. One morning, I woke up early and parked so close to her car that she had about 10 centimeters of space to squeeze out. Then, I went inside, made myself some coffee, and waited. And oh, it was beautiful. She came out, saw her car, and tried to open the door. Surprise. She couldn't. She huffed, walked around, looked completely lost, and after half an hour, she rang my doorbell. "Can you move your car so I can get out?" Could I? Yes. But did I? No. I pretended I didn't hear and enjoyed my coffee in peace. 2 hours later, I finally went outside. "Wow, you're still here?" "I didn't even notice," I said with the biggest fake smile in the world. She didn't find it funny, but I did. And for a moment I thought I'd won. But I underestimated her level of audacity, because the next day, her car was there again. After all the warnings, after all the petty revenge, she hadn't given up. And that's when I realized I wasn't giving up either. Only this time, I was done playing fair. She didn't deserve respect. She deserved a lesson. So I sat down, stared at the ceiling, and thought, what's the worst possible way to get rid of this car? Could I call the police? Sure. But they'd treat it like a neighbor dispute and tell me to talk it out. Could I call a tow truck? Now we're talking. But not just any tow truck. If I was going to get her car towed, I was going to make sure she never had the nerve to park there again. And then, the idea hit me. What if I sent her car straight to the scrapyard? So, with a revengeful smile, I picked up the phone and made the call. Hi, there's an abandoned car in my garage. It's been here for days, and I can't get in touch with the owner. Can you remove it? The attendant asked a few questions, then gave me the answer I wanted to hear. We can pick it up right now. Standard protocol is to take it to an impound lot, but if you authorize it, we can send it straight to a partner scrapyard. I stopped, held in my laughter. Take it to the scrapyard. 40 minutes later, a giant tow truck pulled up. The driver got out, looked at the car, then at me. That's the abandoned car? That's the one, I said, feigning frustration. And with magical efficiency, he hooked up the cables and started lifting her car. I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, ready to enjoy the best show of my life. And then she arrived. She stopped at the end of the street, frozen in place, trying to process what she was seeing. And then she exploded. What are you doing? That's my car. She came marching over, full of rage. But the tow truck driver? He didn't care. You're in the wrong garage, ma'am. The owner asked for it to be removed. She turned to me, furious. You can't do that. Yes, I can. I did. I replied, smiling. She tried to be smart. I'll call the police. This is robbery. But I was 2 steps ahead. I pulled out my phone and showed her an email I had sent to the neighborhood association, reporting the unknown car trespassing in my garage. And do you know what the law says about trespassers on private property? The owner can have it removed. Her face went pale as the truth sank in. The tow truck started moving. No, no, no. My car. She tried to chase after it, but it was too late. The car was already gone, heading straight to the scrapyard without stopping. And for the first time, I saw terror on her face. She had played with the wrong person. Now, do you think this is the end of the story? No, because this woman didn't know how to lose. The next day, she showed up at my door furious, screaming like a parrot overdosed on coffee. You have to pay me for my car. I took a deep breath, tried not to laugh in her face, and replied, But why? Didn't you park there every day? I thought you wanted to leave it with me. She was speechless for a moment, and then she pulled out her final card. I'm going to sue you. That was the best part. Because before I could even respond, one of the neighbors shouted from across the street, Yes, sue, so he can charge you for garage rent. And the worst part? The whole neighborhood started laughing because everyone knew. Everyone saw her doing it for months. She lost. And what about me? Well, I just slammed the door in her face, the same way she did to me in the beginning. And now, the tables had turned. After the tow truck took her car straight to the scrapyard, I knew the war wasn't over yet. Slackers never accept defeat at first. They always try one last trick, thinking they can turn the tide with a stroke of luck. And of course, this woman was no different. The next day, I was enjoying the peace, finally managing to park in my own garage, when I saw her marching up to my house. But this time, she wasn't wearing her usual arrogant pose. She was snorting with rage. Think of a bull about to charge. Now multiply that by 1,000. She rang the doorbell so hard, I swear she almost ripped the knob off. When I opened the door, she started screaming, You're going to pay me for my car. I expected something like this, so I kept my cool. Well, it wasn't mine, I said, smiling. Or was it? Because if it was, then you were breaking into my garage. And if it wasn't, well, it was abandoned on my property. She turned red. She looked like she was going to explode right there in front of me. I'm going to sue you. That was theft. Oh dear. She really doesn't learn. I put my hand on my chin, pretending to think. But you see, If you sue, then we'll have to go to court. And do you know what happens there? She crossed her arms, losing patience. What? And then came the final blow. There, I can claim compensation for the months you occupied my garage without permission. It may not seem like much, but if you add up all the time, it'll add up to quite a sum. It was as if her brain had locked up. I swear you could hear her neurons squeaking. And then she realized she was trapped. If she filed a lawsuit, she'd probably end up owing me money. For the first time, she kept quiet. And that, my friends, that was a victory. She stared at me for a while, trying to think of some miraculous argument. But as she couldn't find anything, she decided to go down the classic slacker route. Emotional blackmail. You've destroyed my life, she began, putting her hand to her chest as if she were a victim in a Mexican soap opera. Now I don't have a car. I have children. How am I going to get them to school? How am I going to work? You've ruined me. Oh, you poor thing. Too bad that wasn't my problem. Because at the end of the day, she dug her own grave. So, I gave her the simplest, most honest answer I could. You shouldn't have parked in my garage. It was as simple as that. And that's when she realized there was no point in crying.
No excuse.
No blackmail to make me feel guilty. The only one to blame was her. And when she saw that she wasn't going to get anything out of me, the woman freaked out. She took a step back, her eyes boiling with hatred. And then, in a moment of pure insanity, she spat on the floor of my balcony. Yes, she spat. I stood there, staring at her, processing what had just happened. And then, I started to laugh. I laughed out loud, because at the end of the day, that was the greatest proof that I had won. She had no more arguments. She had lost completely. And the only thing left, this childish, pathetic attitude. So, without saying another word, I shut the door in her face. The woman stood outside, screaming to herself for a few seconds. And then, she left. Finally, the nightmare was over. Over the next few days, she tried to pretend that nothing had happened. She walked down the street without looking at anyone, avoiding any eye contact, as if she thought everyone would just forget. But the neighborhood didn't forget. What used to be forced smiles and polite good mornings were now judgmental looks and awkward silence. She was no longer the HOA lady who ran everything. Now, she was just the crazy woman who lost her car because she thought she could do whatever she wanted. And little by little, shame won out, until one day, I saw something wonderful in front of her house. A moving truck. Yes, she was leaving. I don't know if she sold the house, if she was evicted, or if she simply decided to run away from the humiliation. But the fact is, after months of hell, she was gone. And what about me? Well, I did what any sensible person would do. I sat on my balcony, made myself a nice cup of coffee, and watched each box being loaded onto the truck with the biggest smile in the world. Because in the end, justice was done. If there's one thing I've learned in this life, it's that sloppy people never accept losing at first. Even after her car was towed straight to the scrapyard, after the public humiliation, after realizing that I could sue her for months of occupying my garage, she still tried to get revenge. Yes, she didn't go away quietly, because people like that, they need to make one last fuss before disappearing. And her last move was so ridiculous that I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. After the pathetic scene on my balcony, I thought I'd never have to deal with her again. But a few weeks later, when I got home, I noticed something strange in my garage. There, right in the middle of the space where her car used to be, was an old mattress thrown about in any way. At first, I thought it was just garbage that someone had left there by mistake. But then, I saw it. There was a letter taped to it. I went over, picked up the paper, and started reading. And my God, it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever read in my life. The letter went something like this. Since you took my car away from me, this spot can now be my new home. I hope you're happy to leave a mother without transportation. If a mattress here bothers you so much, imagine losing a car. And at the end, a bad drawing of a car and a sad emoji. Yes, a hand-drawn sad emoji. I paused for a moment, trying to decide whether to laugh or throw the damn thing in the garbage can. But the funniest part? The letter made it clear that she hadn't learned anything. At no point did she say, "Sorry for taking up your garage for months," or, "Maybe I overreacted." No, she still wanted to play the victim, as if it was my fault. As if I had broken into her house and stolen her car by force, when she was the one who parked where she shouldn't have. So I did the only sensible thing. I picked up the mattress, threw it in the garbage, and got on with my life. But she wasn't finished yet. The next day, a neighbor texted me. "Did you see what she posted in the neighborhood group?" Now I knew something good was coming. I opened my phone and, of course, there it was, her latest attempt to make a scandal. Her post read, "Attention, neighbors. I have been the victim of a cruel act. A certain resident here in the neighborhood, I won't name names, but everyone knows who he is, had my car replaced to the old iron without my consent. Now I have no transportation, and my family has been affected. What kind of person does that to someone?" The comments? A mockery fest, because the whole neighborhood already knew the story. And to my delight, the neighbors started rubbing the truth in her face. One of them posted a picture of the letter she left on my mattress. Yes, someone had come by, seen it, took a picture, and exposed her in the group for everyone to see. And then, the whole neighborhood started laughing. She became a public joke. And after just a few minutes, she deleted the post and left the neighborhood group, because the humiliation was too great. Over the next few days, she acted like a ghost. She no longer went out to talk to her neighbors. She didn't do her HOA president rounds that no one respected anyway. She knew. She was defeated. And then one fine Saturday morning, the moving truck showed up. Yes, she was leaving for good. I stood on my balcony, coffee in hand, enjoying every moment. And when she got into her car and slammed the door, our gazes met for just a second. I gave her a short nod and a smile, and she looked away, because deep down, she knew she had lost. After she moved out, the whole neighborhood entered a new era of peace. No absurd rules. No neighbors who thought they owned everything. No daily stress of finding a strange car in my driveway. The neighbors even joked, "Now your garage is really yours." And I laughed, because in the end, I didn't have to shout. I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to lose my temper. I just had to let her bury herself. Her car? Scrap metal. Her reputation? A joke. And me? I'm left with my parking space free, a good cup of coffee in my hand, and the certainty that I did the right thing. And that, my friends, is how justice was served in the most satisfying way possible. What do you think? Was this the perfect revenge? Or would you have done something different? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more epic real-life stories that will leave you hooked.